Okay, everybody in?
I'm in.
Okay. Welcome to the November 15th Scituate Conservation Meeting. On June 16th of 2021, Governor Baker signed into law an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. This act includes an extension until April 1st, 2022 of the remote meeting provisions of his March 12th, 2020 executive orders, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with our open meeting law. Good evening. And I guess we'd start with the agenda. Maybe the first thing I can say is that right now, for anyone interested, we've gotten requests for continuances from 33 Oceanside Drive. So all we're going to do is continue that hearing. Zero Ridge Hill Road, we'll be continuing that hearing. 208 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, we'll be continuing that hearing. 9 Pondview Ave, we'll be continuing that hearing. And 22 Salt Meadow Lane, we'll be continuing that hearing. I guess I should have read out the dates, but we got to do those individually. So although this will make this meeting a little shorter, it's certainly bound to bring up some issues
Another
somewhere.
one will be jam-packed.
So at any rate, those will be continued as we go along, but if anybody was hanging here for those meetings, we won't have any discussion, it'll simply be continued. In addition to that, the agenda, we have the Christmas tree, and then I also had got a request from a scout about some exercise equipment. And I was hoping we could discuss that tonight. I think that's all that I had for.
So I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as written with the add-on of the scout and the exercise equipment.
Can I suggest, I'm sorry, can I suggest one other small addition
Sure.
that we've discussed before a little bit, and 33 Oceanside brings it to mind, is how often, how many continuances do we allow on some of these projects?
How many years?
That too? Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll add that on to the motion.
Got it. Then I'll second it.
Thank you.
Richard, second that. All in favor? Jen Foley,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you. So right out of the gate here, number 33 Oceanside Drive. This has been requested to continue to 12/20/21.
Make a
Can I get
motion. Continue 33 Oceanside Drive to December 20th.
That's Penny, a second
Second.
from Jen. All in favor? Richard,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Thank you. I
Hey,
do
Frank.
all, yes.
What- We've got 2 hands that are raised right now. And I don't know if maybe we need to add clarification or just take these quick questions before we go on. What do you think?
Sure. You want to let
Okay,
Mr.
I'm gonna-
I got Jim
I'm gonna
Shea
ask
or
Mr.
Amy?
Shea first,
Sure.
and then I'll get to Miss Amy Grozier, okay?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Mr. Shea, do you have
I
a quick
can.
question?
Hi, folks. Sorry. Thank you for taking the question. I'm just.
Just for the record, can you give us your name and address, please?
It's Jim Shea, 9 Pondview Ave.
Okay.
So the continuous, what exactly does that mean? I thought this was a hearing to, I guess, accept the project. Is our engineer there? I don't know if the engineer's there or on the call.
He's
No, the
not.
engineer sent in a request
Didn't
to
hear anything.
continue the 9 Pond View because there's no DEP number, so we wouldn't be able to issue because of that.
So who do I talk to the engineer, the contractor to find out why this has been delayed? Or
No,
continued?
it's a DEP thing and it's going on to December 6th. So it'll be on for December 6th, and that's all we can really say.
Mr. Shea, part of the process in getting this approved is that along with our review, your project gets reviewed by DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, Massachusetts. And they issue a DEP number, and we can't move forward without a DEP number. So hopefully that number will be processed quickly, and then we'll take up your hearing on the 6th.
Okay, and then there's a zoning meeting for later this week, so I guess that delays the zoning meeting as well?
not.
I don't think so.
So it's not predicated on this being approved or something first before that hearing can be held?
I'm not
No.
quite sure what the process is, but I think you could start into your ZBA hearing.
Okay, gotcha.
With that.
Perfect. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it.
Yep.
All right,
Jen?
I'm gonna unmute Amy Grozier. Amy, you gotta keep it really short.
Hi there, this is Amy Grozier, 72 Kenneth Road. I know that it's been continued. I just have a question about stabilizing for the period of time between now and then. Can we get him to do that?
We can take a look at it, Amy,
Cool, that's all I need.
and
you.
see. No, thanks for your patience. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we've continued Oceanside.
Ridge Hill.
Do we continue Ridge Hill?
Nope, we're going to. I
Alright,
make a
so-
motion to continue Ridge Hill to December 6th.
Okay, that's Penny, a second.
Second from Jen.
Jen. All in favor, Richard?
I think we lost Richard.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Frank, yes. Richard? That signal's got to come all the way up from Humrock. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah.
Well, we've got enough to continue it. We'll get Richard reconnected here somehow. I say we in a general sense. How about 133 Turner Road? Do we
Yeah,
All
have-
right,
we're ready
open
for that.
that, and we have Paul Mirabito on the line, so.
All right, let me find
What
that
the hell
one.
is happening?
Sorry.
Richard, we can hear you now.
If I'm reading Richard's body language, he can't hear us, but we can hear him.
Okay, on November 15th, 2021 at 5:30 PM, the Town Hall of Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Laurie Sanderson for work related to elevating the existing dwelling at location 133 Turner Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. So we have someone from.
Engineering Mirabito, Mr.
Paul.
Mirabito. I just unmuted him. Paul,
Paul, you're up.
Earth to Paul.
Can you hear me now, Frank?
I can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Paul Mirabito from Ross Engineering Company. I'm representing the owners and applicant, Gary and Lori Sanderson. They own the existing home shown on the plan at 133 Turner Road. The house sits on a relatively small lot of 3,325 square feet. The application before the commission is to allow them to elevate the house onto a new pier foundation. The locus is in velocity zone VE 19. The proposed top of pile would be 22.1 or 3.1 feet above the FEMA flood elevation. As you know, the state building code requires you to go at least 2 feet, but by adding the additional 1 foot, their FEMA flood insurance premiums would be reduced substantially. We did submit to you a copy of the structural plan that was prepared by Rivermore. They show the construction details and the location for the piers that would be underneath the house. There's no proposed changes to the elevation of the lot. And I think it's pretty straightforward. They have to work underneath the house because there's obviously no room to move the house either onto the beach or the street. So I think with that, I'll end and answer any questions the members may have.
Okay. Richard, it's your neck of the woods.
No, this is on Turner.
Oh, Turner, I'm sorry. Well, too close to the sun.
I could go first if you want to.
Oh,
Frank.
yeah, that'd be great, Amy. Thank you.
Okay, so no DEP comments. It is, I confirm that it is in, it's the site's split between a velocity zone 19 and AE 15. Clearly this area gets hammered by the waves, by the storms. So it would be good to have this go up. The building code would say that it should go elevated onto open piles or columns 2 feet, at least 2 feet above BFE. No ties into the revetment, the concrete wall. And otherwise, I think it's a good project. Straightforward.
Okay. So still can, Richard, you want to comment on this one? Why don't I jump to, go ahead. Can anybody see Richard?
He's working on
I
his
think we might be
headphones.
working on it.
All right, I'm gonna jump to Penny.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. Great. Let's elevate down there. Because we all know that road gets killed every storm. Thank you.
Thank you. Jen?
Yeah, I don't have anything.
Andy?
I'm all set on this one.
Brendan?
I am all set.
And do Richard have any luck with this? Okay, so this, everybody understands this one isn't driven piling, so their alternative is to excavate underneath the house and then pour a series of footings with poured piers on that. It's something that we've allowed in the past just because there's really no other good alternative and you can't move the house out of the way. So that's been approved before. I've got the structural plans in front of me and it looks like what we
Right.
expect. Yep.
I just have you're gonna laugh, but in order, a lot of these houses, we can't do driven pilings because there's no place to move the house. Would the town ever consider letting people move the house into the street, drive the pilings and put it back the same day?
I don't know that that's really feasible, Penny.
Okay, I just,
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
You move the house out of the way, they got to clear out the site. And then it would take several days, I would think,
Okay.
to drive that many piles.
All right,
And blocking the road and all that.
No,
we
I
all-
thought if it was a 1 day shot, possibly, but no.
I mean, they might, depending on what they removed from the house.
Yeah.
It's feasible to consider they could like move it up and partway over the seawall, but that's pretty dicey as well. We've had these discussions before, and I think most people would prefer to be able to drive their piles, but
I know.
I just, in some cases, it's just, it's not feasible.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more luck with Richard, Jen? Well, I think I'd take anybody else, any comment from, we have anybody in the audience for this one?
Want a motion?
I would take a motion.
I make a motion to close.
Can we make a motion to issue too?
I'll make a motion to close and issue 133 Turner Road.
Okay, that's Penny. All in favor? Jen,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Have a good evening.
You too. 208 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, we've got a request. We have to open that first. So I'm going to open this and then we're going to continue it. On November 15, 2021 at 5:30 PM in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Sean Pacheco for work related to construction of a boathouse at location 208 Chief Justice Cushing Highway, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information, the access to virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. So we've opened it, and then we have a request from Morse Engineering to continue this to 12/6.
I make a motion to continue 208 Chief Justice Cushing to December 6th.
Second.
Penny, do we have a second?
Richard, second. You're not hearing me, are you?
Don't
Yeah, I
everybody
can hear
jump-
you.
Oh,
Richard
Oh,
said,
that's Richard.
Yep, I'm here. I'm sorry. My other computer crapped out.
He's pretty muted.
No, I just heard him. I heard you, Rick.
I'm glad. Like I said, my other computer crapped out, so I'm on a different one.
Well, you did
Yeah,
that pretty
We got
quickly.
you now. All right.
Do you want to go back to anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we're at, do we get the continuance? in here?
208, we're gonna continue. We needed a second.
I
Okay.
seconded it.
Oh,
Richard did
You
second.
seconded, Richard seconded,
All
okay.
right, awesome. So all in favor? Jen,
yep,
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you. Number 9, Pondview Ave. I have to open this. On November 15, 2024, 5:30 PM, the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of James and Mary Shea for work related to construction of an addition at a dwelling located at 9 Pondview Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information and access to virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website. And we have a request from Greg Morse and Morse Engineering to continue this to 12/6.
I make a motion to continue 9 Pondview Ave to December 6th.
Great. A second,
second from Jen.
Jen Foley, all in favor? Richard?
Yes.
Andy?
Yes.
Brendan?
yes,
And Frank, yes. Great, thank
Oh,
you.
wait a minute, did you you opened that and then continued it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay,
22 Salt Meadow Lane. So on November 15th, 2021, at 5:30 PM, the Town Hall, Situate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Situate Code of Bylaws regarding the application of Leo McDonough for work related to the construction of a boat storage building and associated grading at location 22 Salt Meadow Lane. Situate abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the virtual meeting will be available, posted on the town website. So they're requesting a continuance to 12. Excuse me, 12/20.
I'll make a motion to continue 22 Salt Meadow Lane to December 20th.
Okay, that's Penny, a second.
Second from Jen.
Jen, all in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
yes,
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you. 39 Jericho Road, after the fact, this is a continuance from September 20th.
okay, so we did receive a plan from the tavern folks, and I just saw, and I'm gonna unmute Mr. Sachatella and his client. All right, so hold on, here we go. You guys can describe what you're showing.
Thank you.
Good evening. So just, do you want to state your name?
Sure, Mike Sachatella. I represent the owners of the property, 39 Jericho Road. I'm here with my clients, Jay Mulvey and Debbie Mulvey. I'm also present with an engineer, Steve Hassel. He's sitting next to me. I can put him on if and when he's needed. And also Doug Patterson, who actually installed the initial drain nearly 30 years ago. He was kind enough to join us here tonight. He's also with us.
Great. So if you could bring us up to speed a little bit, Mike, it's been since September. Or
Thank
Amy.
you. Thank you. When we last left, we were asked to go out, take a look at the drain and get some more data for the board so that you can consider what was actually going on out there. Just by way of background and to restate what we've already presented. And by the way, I also presented a letter dated November 8th, which contained a lot of the information I'm about to talk about, also additional documentation. I want to make sure that the board has had an opportunity to review it as well as the paperwork. So in connection with this particular project, Mr. Chairman and board members, I did a complete title search of the property. And it revealed that back in 1992, the town issued a special permit for the previous owners to raise the previous structure and build a new structure where the current restaurant is located at a higher location. They also approved the work for storm preventativeness and also to prevent storm damage. In connection therewith, this drain was approved to be installed on the property to assist in that process. There were plans that were submitted, we presume, by a fellow named Eyster, E-Y-S-T-E-R. We could not locate him in connection with our title search, so I went to the town itself. The town went down into the basement and they could not find the plans. I also tried to contact Mr. Eyster directly. Mr. Eyster is retired. Unfortunately, he's suffering from dementia. He lives in New Hampshire. There was no access to those plans directly from him. So I talked to Mr. Patterson, who can tell you what he did and how he did it today. Mr. Patterson was hired in order to dig the specific drain in issue, the actual drain, and also connect the drain to an existing pipe that ran from the wetlands all the way out underneath Pier 44 across the street out to the harbor.
Oh,
So
Wow.
he did that pursuant to the plans that were drawn up by Mr. Eister in conformance with the plans. At the end of this entire project, the town of Scituate, which had issued an order of conditions in the meantime, issued a certificate of compliance indicating that all the work that had been proposed had been done properly and according to the order of conditions which the town issued, which included this storm drain and the pipe that connected to the other pipe that you can see depicted by the red lines here on the plan. This plan was amended, and you can see all the red on the plan was done by Mr. Steve Hassel. Mr. Steve Hassel, the engineer who's with us today, went out, personally inspected the property. We took the manhole covers off, we took everything apart, and he was able to observe that. He also noted some other catch basins around the perimeter of the property and identified the saltwater tidal wetlands, which are behind the property itself. So that was the research, that was the work that we did in order to provide more information to the board this evening. So that's where we're at right now. Now, Mr. Hassel also took some photographs, which I've included, of the site. And the site depicts the newly paved area, as well as the buffers that exist between the newly paved area, the existing catch basin, and also the existing wetlands. One of our arguments is that there's still sufficient buffer between the two areas to allow for proper dispersal of anything that may run off from the newly paved area before it gets to the catch basin and before it gets to the wetlands. Also, is in terms of reminding the board what happened here, this fellow named Dyer, D-Y-E-R, who apparently has owned several asphalt paving companies by different names, and as we've just read recently, was indicted by the federal government for tax evasion. He knocked on the door. Mr. Mulvey was alone at the restaurant at the time. It was early in the day. He often goes there early to get things going before all the workers come in. And he was asked whether or not he wanted some potholes filled, that this fellow had some extra asphalt. There were a few potholes that were puddling and causing a lot of, issues in the parking lot in terms of, puddling in the parking lot for customers. And he was told, if you want to just, patch those holes, that's fine, but that's it. Interestingly, and I guess thankfully, Amy drove by and saw what was going on, got out and asked these folks, what are you doing? And they said, we're just patching a few potholes. Well, when the job was done and the next knock at the door, when Mr. Mulvey arrived at the door, he saw what you see in the pictures here and also in the plan. The work was greatly exceeded in scope. Mr. Mulvey was very upset. The guy said, well, we had some extra asphalt. We thought we'd use it all. And that's what you see. Fortunately, the paving did not require any work over any existing catch basins or drainage facilities. It did extend the paving that you can see in the photographs and on this plan that were right up to the sidewalk leading into the restaurant, which contained parking areas and handicap parking. So that's where we're at today. Mr. Hassel can address the situation as he observed it. Mr. Patterson can as well. Our arguments are set forth in the letter that I sent. As unfortunate as it is, ladies and gentlemen, and certainly we would have not allowed it to be done this way, it is what it is at the current time. We submit that the board could find that given the fact that we still have a significant buffering with what was the existing crushed stone between the newly paved area and the catch basin and the newly paved area and the saltwater marsh provides sufficient buffer so that there has not been a substantial change in the conditions that would invoke the Wetlands Protection Act. Also, we remarked to the board as an unintended benefit. It actually provides an additional benefit for those who park in the handicap areas. Before this area, the handicap folks would get out and they would have to maybe unload a wheelchair or whatever right into the gravel. Now, because the pavement has been extended a bit, they're able to have more pavement, more flat areas so they can better access the restaurant to and from the restaurant. So other than that, and as an additional point to note, as we have more electric vehicles populating our roadways, and we expect to over the next few years, the issue of runoff or accumulation of oil or whatever on the pavement hopefully will become less of an issue, and we won't have these matters going forward. So that's basically what I have to say right now. Open to questions, Mr. Patterson, Mr. Hassel, as well as my clients. But hopefully we've covered the issues that the board wants to address tonight.
Frank, can I say a few words?
Sure.
All right. Well, first, thank you for taking this matter seriously. It looks like you've done a really thorough review of what is existing on site right now. And given that, I mean, I think it was an unfortunate incident that occurred where they overstepped what they were given permission for, you know, without permits from us. I mean, it clearly it would have in the first place, but given the scope expanded beyond what the owner felt, and also now having the history of the site, I mean, I think that this could go as a negative, and you could go either way, but I mean, I would lean towards giving a negative finding on this. The other route would be, you know, a positive finding, which would trigger a notice of intent. And if you did that, then we would be going down the trail of, you know, it would trigger DEP stormwater review. And I can just tell you that that would be a significant upgrade from what they have now, given DEP's new standards. I mean, the standards for design in the early 90s were different than they were revised you know, recently, and actually they're going to be revised again to handle increased storm flows. It is land subject to coastal storm flowage, so I think a lot of what you see here does hit the storm pathways like they show. So I mean, I think it's a good discussion for the board, but I don't know. I'm leaning towards them showing that, demonstrating that they've done, you know, acted responsibly here and contacted relevant parties and given us information that show that originally it had been permitted appropriately. So I hope that makes sense.
Okay. I just got a text from Penny. She's having trouble with her computer. And I think she's muted and can't unmute herself, which if anybody wants to take a vote on whether that's good or bad.
I just unmuted her. Hopefully she'll be.
Okay, thanks. All right, thanks for that, Amy. Maybe, can I ask a couple questions? I know I want to go through the commission, but maybe if I could ask a couple of questions of Mr. Patterson.
Wait a minute, I gotta mute this again. All right.
Oh, you're there, Penny.
Jake stepped on the keyboard, and I.
Okay, maybe I could ask Mr. Patterson a couple questions if that's possible.
Yeah.
Doug, are you on?
I am.
Great, thanks.
How you doing, Frank?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
So just looking at this drawing, and I remember watching some of this happen, and I know that the building was conditioned appropriately back when they built the building, from reading through the paperwork that's here and realizing that there's a couple missing pieces. So was the drain that goes from the marsh out to Jericho Road, was that already in place from back when the Fords had that property?
Yes, yes, that was a very old drain line.
So that's pre-existing, and it
Yes,
ran to that, there's a basin or clean out or something like right at the foot of the, or right at the top of where the handicap parking is, or those few paved areas?
that's a manhole.
Put a manhole in there. So is that something that you installed when you did this?
Yes,
Okay. And then that pipe continues out to discharge into the harbor?
yes, it does.
Okay. So then when you installed the parking lot drain in that island and piped it to that manhole?
Exactly.
So this does discharge directly into the harbor?
If the tide is low, yes,
Yep. So if it's high, does it actually discharge, does it flow the other way and go back into the marsh, or?
it does.
So this could actually go in either direction?
Yes, it does. It flows both ways.
Got it. Huh. All right. So I guess the only concern, and I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here. But, so the only concern is that the runoff from the newly paved area moves to the catch basin, and in my interpretation of this, the runoff from the newly paved area runs quickly to the drain in the island, which then discharges right to the marsh or into the harbor. And if this were a newly paved area and we were conditioning this, as Amy pointed out, there'd be a lot more regulatory pieces to that, trying to pick up any contaminants or anything on that parking area before it ran to the harbor. Now, that gravel area has been there since '92, and so it's packed pretty hard. So it's unlikely that a lot of material is actually gonna get absorbed in the ground. Probably most of the things that landed on that gravel also washed towards that existing catch basin. So I just wanted to give that as a little food for thought to the rest of the members for their questions. That's all. So we can start somewhere. Richard?
Well, you kind of asked the questions that I would have asked.
Sorry.
No, that's good. That's good. No, I guess my inclination is because it was so hard packed in the first place, I just don't see that it's a lot different than it would have been if they'd done nothing except maybe patch the potholes. And so I really don't have any additional question. I think they've gotten an awful lot of information that we didn't have up to speed, and under these circumstances, I don't really have a problem.
Okay. Penny?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Jen?
Did we talk at all about kind of like maintenance or checking in on these storm drains? Maybe it's something to think about going forward.
That's a good point. But there's no, like, typically with actually it's a question so Doug, the depth of that catch basin that's in the island, is there room for sedimentation, like below where that discharge is?
Yes, there is.
So that could be cleaned periodically.
Yes.
Okay.
That could be something to consider.
That'd be a good point. And how about in the manhole, Doug? That's
No,
just an,
No, it's a standard manhole. The invert is in the bottom of the manhole.
okay,
There's no sump.
got it. All right. Anything else, Jen?
No, that's it.
Andy?
I think I understand it. I don't. I guess the one thing I'm wrestling with, and I'm not at all questioning Mr. Mulvey's accounting of this at all, but just sort of the idea that we may not review this as thoroughly by someone saying like, hey, someone just happened to do this and I didn't authorize it. I just worry a little bit about what we're saying to others in that circumstance, and I'm sort of wrestling with that. I get, again, not at all questioning Mr. Mulvey's story on this, but I don't know. If others have thoughts on that, that's what I'm sort of just wrestling with a little bit.
Well, it's a good point, and we've been undergoing some pretty heavy scrutiny for a parking lot expansion. Granted, it's an expansion. It's not what's just existing, but in a sensitive area, they've been asked to provide quite a bit of information and show upgrades to their filtration and discharge. So there are a couple projects going on that are getting some pretty heavy review because of that. Again, this is not an expansion of the parking lot. If Mr. Mulvey had come in and said, I want to make my parking lot bigger,
Right.
or more cars, it's the same area, but it's a good point. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Brendan?
Yeah, I don't have anything additional to add to this.
Amy, do you have, or is there anybody else in the audience for this?
Yeah, if there is, you should raise your hand. I mean, I can just say or repeat the 2 cents about, like, I mean, if they come in with a new project or a change of use, like say they want to put a CVS here or something like that, I mean, it would get a different kind of a review, you know, or because I mean, and to meet DEP stormwater standard, you would probably be looking at some infiltrators. I mean, I don't know, like there's no room on this site to treat. And I think also it definitely has an interesting dynamic where it does get exchange from the into the harbor. So that's an interesting point. But I don't know. I think it's good that they brought up the 1990s permitting. And it was good then. And I actually worked with Mr. Eister when I first began my career.
Okay.
So, Amy, I know with an RDA, we don't have an ongoing set of orders, but is there some way that we can get an agreement to get like an annual inspection or cleaning of that basin? I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, so you could vote as a negative finding. We have a comment section and we can request it that, you know, annual maintenance. I mean, I believe that did they say that they do maintenance on it? I can't remember. Or it just self-maintains. I mean, eventually, sometimes these things fill up with sediment, right? So you got to pump out or they stop working.
Right.
And I'm not sure
Parking lot.
how often they, if they said how, you know, if that's ever happened or so on. But something in.
So if this were, not to be an expert on this, but if this were basins that were in a paved area, along with the basin, there'd be an additional piece that would separate oils or things like that. Am I correct?
Yeah, the new systems that have, they're just built differently.
Right. So it's not just going into a basin that flows into the harbor or into the marsh, but there'd
Yeah, they've
actually, there'd be a separation piece.
Mhm. I mean, at some point, they probably should consider some more upgrades like that. I'm not sure that this is the time that you really need to put them down that path unless
Okay.
you choose to. And it did
Yep.
come in as an after the fact RDA.
Yep.
Quasi enforcement, like they did this willingly and they are.
No, I
trying-
appreciate all that. And I just, I think to Andy's point, we have other projects in front of us with parking and paving and all that sort of thing. Granted, it's a newer project or an expansion, but there's a lot more to those projects than there was in 92. Okay, well, I'm up for a motion.
I make a motion for a -3 with
Okay.
comments.
Okay,
Okay.
that's, there's a motion from Penny, there's a second,
Second from Jen.
second from Jen Foley, all in favor, Richard
Yes.
and Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, so from Mr. Mulvey, a negative is good, it means we don't have to move forward with this, and appreciate your cooperation with you and Mr. Sachs-Teller and getting as many knowledgeable people involved and try to work this out, so I appreciate that.
We appreciate what you folks have done too, and the
Thank you.
thoughtful consideration you've given it. Thank you very much.
You have a nice evening.
The door.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye now.
On November 15th, 2021, during the 5:30 meeting in the Town Hall, Scituate Conservation Commission will act on the request of the Town of Scituate for determination of applicability of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw for activities related to tree work location at Teak Sherman Garden on First Parish Road, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access the meeting will be available on the agenda posting on the town website. So with this is clearing around Teak Sherman, it's on conservation property. And Amy, do you want to comment first?
Well, yeah, I mean, do you want, I think that there are some of the applicants on the call. Do you want me to unmute Jean Schildneck or Lisa Bertola, Frank? I think.
Sure, if they want to, if they could give us a brief.
Okay,
thought.
I will, I'm gonna go to Jean first. Well, actually, but somebody else has their hand up. I don't know who that is. Oh, Sally Rossi. I guess I'll go to her first. Maybe she, and then go through, but we're trying to keep this short and sweet, everybody, if we can, or not sweet, but you know what I mean.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Sally.
Hi. Yes, I'm
Yep.
Sally, and I'm representing the Teak Sherman Community Garden along with Jean Schildnick and Lisa Bertola tonight.
Okay, Sally, can you just give us your full name and address?
Yes, my name is Sally Rossi Orman, and I live in at 27 Moreland in Scituate.
Great.
I am a 11-year member of the Teak Sherman Community Garden, and my background is that I'm an outdoor educator for Holly Hill Farm. I teach sustainability, anything from ecology, environmental science, and I'm a tree hugger.
Oh, join the club.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So why don't you fill us in a little bit on where you're at?
Well, what's in question right now are there's approximately 20 to 25 trees that are around the perimeter of the Teak Sherman Garden. Since we've been there for the last 10 to 12 years, these trees have gotten considerably larger. casting a lot more shade than they did when we first started this project. All of the trees, if you note on this piece of paper that's in front of you, have been identified as far as what type of tree they are. Most of them are Norway maples, which are not considered a heritage tree of any sort. And I did a counting of the trees as far as I aged them. I can find out how old they and how long these particular trees have been growing in this space. And the average age of the trees growing around there about 60 years. A lot of them, a good percentage of them are showing considerable damage to the winds and such that have been going on over the last 20 years. A lot of them have fungal growth on them and are in the process of dying. Our request is to be able to remove these trees and they're about 10 feet to 20 feet off the perimeter of the current fence that we have. Primarily because we've been okay to build a new fence because the old one has rotted and been falling apart, as well as being abused by the old tree branches that are coming off of the trees that are surrounding it. So our request is to see whether or not we need permission to take down these trees because it is conservation land, and find out what we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from your group or organization want to add anything to that? Somebody else has got a hand up. Lisa,
Probably
Lisa.
Lisa.
can you unmute Lisa?
Hi, thank
Good
you.
evening.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Bertola, 52 Elm Street in Scituate. And just to add to Sally's comments, I think there was some members did look at the trees in question and determined, and Sally can speak better to this, maybe which ones were somewhat not precious, or I'm not sure that's the right word, but in terms of, I think there are 12 Norway maple, there are 5 black cherry, and you've got it in front of you there, but I think we did try to pay careful attention to the types of trees that were marked, and also to proximity to any running water streams. It seems like these meet requirements in terms of what trees they are, what types of trees they are, and setbacks from any running water, streams, brooks of that nature. We're not excited about cutting trees down other than to keep this healthy, community garden, and some of the shade and some of the fence damage was attributed to, as Sally said, falling limbs and things of that nature. So it's purely and limited to the essentials for putting up a solid fence that will last, for a long, long time. And we also touched base with the longboards who are across the street, and they seem open to these modifications to keep the garden thriving. They are advocates and happy to have the garden where it is.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Samantha. Penny, you've been involved in this, so why don't you go?
Yeah,
first.
I know it looks like a lot of trees to everyone, but it really, there's a ton of trees out there. It's very thick. And in order for the garden to thrive, I agree with them. We really need to get these trees down. They are shading the garden way too much. And a lot of them, the branches have fallen, this and that. I've watched the fence slowly over the years from when we first put it up, get, knocked down and this and that. So I know it looks like a lot of trees. It is a lot of trees, but it is a very heavy forested area there. And order for this particular community garden to thrive, it really needs more sunlight out there, especially in the afternoon, where all those Norway maples are shading it. So, I love my trees, but I really think this would be a benefit, and it isn't as though it's a sparsely forested area. It's very lovely out there if you ever take a walk out there. So
Okay,
that's my 2 cents, Frank.
okay, thanks. Right, so, Richard?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what Penny said the times I've been there, which isn't often, but a few times. It just makes sense, as far as I can see, to thin those out a little bit and expand the sunlight into the areas where they're trying to keep the gardens growing. And the last time I was there, it was pretty obvious the fence is in bad shape. So I'm okay with it.
All right, thanks. Let Jen go next, and then if somebody could move it to the next one, I just gotta grab a quick phone call. I'll be right back to you.
I would like to hear Andy's thoughts before my own. Not that, not that I'll change them, but he has such a great background on things like this. So Andy, do you want to go before me?
Sure. And I don't want to present myself as any expert beyond.
I said
beyond what I know.
background. Good background.
But I think, well, for the Norway maples in particular, I mean, we regularly permit clearance of invasive species even in resource areas like Phragmites or bittersweet. So I would love to see the Norway maples go, because I mean, my understanding is that the problem with them is they have a thicker canopy than native maples, and then everything underneath suffers. And so the ecosystem below is actually worse off with them being there. And so actually knowing that there are a lot of people who know their plants involved in this project, I wonder if we could even think about like a ongoing maintenance plan to keep the Norway maples from coming back in that area, and letting the sort of undergrowth come back. So yeah, I think the use is great. I think obviously it's needed to clear it out, and actually removing the Norways in particular has benefit to the ecology around there. So I'm on board.
Is there, given some of that, I don't know much about trees, but is there a world in which some of those C's, P's, and O's could be traded for Norway maples? Is that something that might be just to get rid of more of the ones that aren't ideal? I'm sure this is a very well thought plan in the first place. I'm just talking about.
You asking me or my guess is that they flag those because they're either going to fall on the fence or they need to get rid of the shade to get growing. And I mean, I'm looking at those others and thinking if you subtract the maples, which as a pro, and then you're down to just a handful of trees that they're taking out for a good cause.
Right, and can I just add to those trees, the other trees are cherries, and they are all in diseased. If you look on this form, on the right-hand side, those trees are actually closer to the fence. They're a little bit older. They're about 70 years. The average age is about 70 years old, and they're cherries that are falling apart, and they've got a lot of fungus and such on it.
Okay.
So none of these trees are what we call our heritage trees, nor are they what I call mother trees. There's no great standing oak trees or anything, and the oaks are red oaks as well. They're not white oak, and the peas are pine, which are mostly white pine. Which that whole forested area actually should look a little bit closer as far as cleaning up some of the white pine that's in that area, because it's a tinder trap at this point.
Got it. And thanks for giving me 2 new things to look up, what a heritage tree and what a mother tree is. So I'm good for now.
Okay.
Sally is an amazing resource, not just to the garden, but she's just a town jewel. That's all we can say.
One of the hearings we're having, the applicant, I guess, has a heritage tree on First Parish Road. But it would be fun to hear some of that. Andy, did you get a chance?
Yep, all good.
You missed it, Frank.
Brendan
Oh,
is
sorry.
going to want to need.
Brendan?
Well, having to go after Jen and Andy leaves me very little to say. So I'm glad for all of their input and for the presentation in general. And I'm good with this.
Can I ask, do we have anybody in the, is there anybody else in the audience? Any neighbors or butters or anybody concerned? Okay.
See no other hands raised.
Well, when do you think this would take place? Any idea from the applicant, like timing or where you stand in this, if you've got proposals yet or?
Yeah, this winter.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak if Sally isn't. We have
Go ahead.
Andrew Spalt of Total Tree Care in Cohasset. He's looked at the project and given us a preliminary, proposal. I think it was actually part of our full package applying for this. So he's ready. Now, certainly given the recent storm, he might be somewhat backed up right now, but he was ready to move forward with this, given the, pending the approval. So we're definitely queued up to get this work done with a Total Tree Care in Cohasset.
Right.
Are the trees gonna be taken off-site, or are they gonna be just fallen on,
No, they'll be taken off site.
taken down?
Yeah, we were actually going to use some of the lumber or wood to potentially to keep on the side for composting that we do on 2 corners, but most of it would be taken off site.
Okay. Frank?
Yes, Penny.
My understanding too was that get the trees down. Oh, okay. And then in the spring, I believe they would be putting up the new fencing. And then they'd be ready to go. With the growing season's over now, this is the prime time to get the trees down and the new fencing and the new parking for handicapped done this winter. So it would be a winter project, the whole thing.
Okay. Well, I guess that one of the reasons I'm asking that question, and I'm not trying to make mountains out of, make this more complicated, but we have just recently used a forester to review a number of our properties. I wouldn't hesitate to send this over to him with a little brief explanation. I could even fill him in on what we're doing here and see if he had any comment on that. It is on conservation land, and there's good reasons to consider a forestry program in terms of cutting or thinning. Obviously, they'd probably approach it a little bit differently if they were looking at it as just a forest as opposed to opening up around a field. But I bet Phil would be willing to give a brief comment, maybe to address some of the concerns that a couple members had. Also, there's a lot of new ways to think about, or not new, but different ways to think about what to do with all the wood that a lot of these larger trees, if they could be utilized in some fashion, would actually store carbon for a good period of time, as opposed to chipping everything or whatever. So, and sometimes even just piling stuff up and letting it decay slowly is a better choice than
Removing.
or grinding everything. So
Do you
This-
think you could get Phil there this week or in the next couple of weeks?
I don't even know if he needs to go there. He could probably look at this aerial and look at the project. I think we just email it over to him and
Okay.
and ask him if he wouldn't mind commenting on that. I mean, I think we could, I don't know if it's safe to say it's a negative determination, but we'd like to get some input from a forester rather than delay it. It's a I mean, there's two things. We have to give a determination as to whether this can actually take place, but we're voting on work on our own property.
Yeah.
So it's still the commission's discretion what gets removed or done there. So even if we approve this piece of it, we can still have this discussion with the applicant. And obviously we want to work with them so that they can continue to garden and have a successful crops. Just might be another quick look at that.
No, I
Sorry.
think that's probably fine. Sally, Lisa, Jean, what do you think? I mean, I know you wanna
Just
get
so that
going.
they understand,
yeah,
on a lot of our town forests, we recently had a forester come in and evaluate our forests and start to give us recommendations on how we could have a healthier forest. And one of the things you kind of touched on was that the rest of the woods around this aren't very well managed, and there's a lot of down trees or different trees in different age groups that may or may not need some additional some work. So, go-
Lisa has her hand raised.
Yep. Lisa?
Yep, we're certainly open to that and would it actually encourage it. I was there this weekend and just even the path from the parking area down on First Parish. On
3A.
yeah, 3A, Chief Justice. That path walking up, given the recent storm, there's lots of debris in there. And we've typically managed if a tree limb falls ourselves but it's, this past weekend, there's quite a lot of cleanup that needs to be done. And we can, like I say, we manage that ourselves, would have that cleaned up ourselves. But if it might be nice for the the person that the town's in touch with on forestation to look at that, even the access to the garden. They might have ideas about a healthier way to keep it maintained. We're certainly open to it as long as we don't delay timing so that we couldn't function with the garden by spring of 2022.
Yeah.
Andy and Jen, your thoughts, if we could maybe just get a little feedback from Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. All right.
Did we give them a -3 tonight, though? Yes, no?
Is that what you wanted to do, Penny?
Yeah, I sure do.
All right, but I think we can condition that and then still get input from the forester. And if he's got some recommendations on how things might be changed a little bit, we'll get that in, just as part of being on the property we have care and custody of. So, all right.
Can I have just a couple of comments too?
Yeah.
From perspective of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Scituate bylaw, there is buffer on the west side, like on the Norway Maple side going
Yeah.
down. So that means that it's buffer to BVW, so it starts to get wet. And I guess I have maybe some concerns about how the trees are going to be accessed. Like, so how's the machinery going to get in? We just don't want to like have them come in through the buffer or something strange like that. You know what I mean?
Amy, the access end is up where that M is by the street at the
Mhm.
top. That would be the access point in for a truck to come in. And I'm imagining they'll just take the fence that's there down and he'll come in that way. Because
And
the
stage
fence,
in the garden area or on-
yes, I would say so, definitely. Because all the fencing that's there, that's all going to be replaced before spring. All right, they have the funding from CPC, so they're gonna have a beautiful place there next year.
Oh,
But
so
it
is
would-
the fencing in process of coming out now?
you know what? You could just give it a push.
Yeah.
The fencing that's there, it is not chain link, okay?
Yeah, I've been there with you. actually.
Yes. So don't worry, it can come down very, very easily. So I would say the access will be from First Parish Road. That's the only access in there. and they'll come in there and from the field will do the cutting. So they
So-
won't be going near the wetlands on either side.
Maybe just to clarify a couple more things. I mean, is the
Yeah.
fence close enough to the buffer that that fence should be part of this NOI?
No,
Okay. And then maybe with the tree removal, we're talking about just cutting the trees and leaving the stumps, right? There's no excavation, no
not
stumps.
that I am aware of.
No,
Right.
leave the stumps.
Okay.
Leave
No.
the stumps.
Yeah. Let Mother Nature do her job on that, and we'll get the answer from Phil whether to take the wood off or leave it.
Well, we want just his opinion on the trees that are coming out.
Sure,
and
yeah.
whatnot. Okay.
And just one thing to,
Right.
I mean, ask Phil, but I would say if the stumps are being left, no sprouts will come out of that. And I don't know if we want to sort of give permission to keep the Norman maples down, to regularly trim those stumps.
Well, that's what I think Frank had said in the beginning, that, they could do that. To
Yep.
keep everything down once the new fencing's up, then just to maintain it every year, keep all the shoots from coming back up.
Good, great.
Right, Jean has her hand up, so I'm gonna unmute her also.
Okay. Janine?
She's coming.
Looks like she's still muted.
Well, I'm asking her to unmute, but it's.
Hi,
I
can
don't
you
know.
hear me?
You got ya.
Hello?
Yep,
Oh, you can
We-
hear me?
we can hear you, Gene.
Okay, sorry about that. I have hesitated to raise my hand because I'm on the train. So I just wanted to thank the commission for taking such good care of this land and taking it this request so seriously. And obviously to thank Sally and Lisa and Penny also for all their input and for covering everything. Just really quickly wanted to say that, yes, indeed, all of the work would be done from inside the garden, so we wouldn't be on the other side of either of those stone walls. And yeah, perfectly well, it'd be great to have a forester come in and take a look at the property, including the property beyond the garden, and happy to leave the wood there if that's what is agreed is more ecologically sound, and happy to continue to cut back any sprouts or saplings or seedlings that come up. I think that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay, somebody wants to make a motion
Make a motion for a -3.
in a second.
Well, I'd add with the conditions as discussed with the additional foresters' participation.
Yes, Richard. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome, then I'll second it.
Yes.
All right, all in favor, Jen,
Yes.
Andy,
Where'd you go, Andy?
Oh,
Andy
yes, yes.
muted.
Yes.
Brendan?
Yes.
Great, thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
orders and conditions.
Okay, do you want to, has everyone read Newell, or let's do the other ones first, then we can go back to Newell. I
Wait a
make
minute,
a motion.
hold on, Sally
Whoa, whoa.
has her hand up, so we might have a quick question. All right, I'm asked to unmute. All right,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sally.
Thank you.
oh, that was it? Okay. Thanks,
Okay,
Sally.
I make a motion that we accept the orders of condition for 82 Scituate Ave, 184 Central, and Lot B Maple, and 155 Bulrush Farm as written.
Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
Okay, all in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
I think he said yes.
Yes.
and Frank, yes, thank you. Okay,
Now.
so now we're on to the fun one.
8 Newell Street. I read the orders that Amy wrote up. I don't know if anyone else read them this afternoon. Andy, you read them? Good.
I did, yes.
I have
Jen?
been unable to look at my email, so if anybody sent me comments, I'm sorry, I haven't seen them. So they might not be perfect, but I wasn't at last meeting, so I mean, clearly, there's some things that maybe were okay. That's why it wasn't a straight up denial, but there were other things that the message to me was very clear that we're not gonna be good to go. But I mean, we can change it if you're not happy with it, like, just give me the comments. And otherwise vote, maybe.
Okay, can I just give a quick synopsis of it? Okay, basically what these orders say we're doing is that we are denying above in-ground any pool, any structure out there. That's a denial. You can't have it. But we are giving permission, just in case down the road, that if he wants to clean up the yard, if he wants to do plantings, if he wants to take down that retaining wall, that is okay. But there will be
And
no,
also a shed is okay under this too, but
yes,
the 50
yeah.
and the inner riparian, and it has to be up
Up.
elevated.
That's right. I forgot that one. So basically, he won't have to come back to us if he wants to do those other things, but the orders do say absolutely no above or in-ground pool, no pool on a barrier beach. So,
Okay. Richard, you're abstained from this one, right?
I'm
Right.
recused, yes.
Because, yeah. Jen?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Andy?
Yeah, look good to me.
Brendan?
Yeah, it looks good.
okay. Frank, do you want to say something before I make a motion?
Well, I have a slightly different view, but I think there's enough folks that I think we can vote this.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the orders of condition for 8 Newell as written.
So we got a motion by Penny. Do we have a second?
Second from Jen.
Okay, all in favor? Andy,
Yes.
Brendan,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. There we go.
Yep.
So certificates of compliance or enforcement, Amy, you want to give us any input there?
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, so we're getting the certificates of compliance fast and furious based on sales, you know what I mean? And projects being completed. This is a good thing. They actually gave us an as-built for the athletic fields. Got these others are residences that were completed. Enforcement, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want to go on this. I mean, I actually have some hot cases that I had to track down this week, so stay tuned. But I know when I was away, we got a call on Scituate Ave, and it was like following up on a DEP lead about a bobcat like stuck in the flood zone and like in that Phragmites area, like off of Turner and Scituate. And that didn't turn out to be anything. That was pollution related, but the person that went and checked that out said that was nothing. So I haven't yet to follow up on that one, but then actually the TA gave me a lead on one up in Minot about a boat ramp. Jen, maybe you've seen this. There's like
Where?
Jim and Kevin saw up near that parcel we were gonna pick up that went to the group in Cohasset.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen any.
So
It's not there.
like on the Gulf side. And then-
Uh-huh.
But I feel like There's been a ramp there for a long time. Like, I'm not so sure it's new, but anyways, I'm gonna check that one out. With the storm, I mean, the storm did a lot of damage in town. You know, we've had lots of calls on trees, definitely trees from public property, you know, coming down onto private property. Who's responsible? What are we gonna do? I mean, I think the DPW has a 3-page list of trees that they're trying to get to or evaluate whether, you know, who's responsible. The town can't and won't be able to take care of all of them. But I mean, basically the rule there is, you know, is that if it falls from public property onto private, it's not necessarily, you know, it's not necessarily the town that is responsible at all to pick it up. It's usually a claim. So those are kind of on a case by case basis, but we've issued quite a few of minor activities permits. Far fewer for Hummerock, honestly, considering, and for the not Minot, but for Cedar Point area. Like, I don't see a lot of those with minor activities, but I do see that people have moved material. So that concerns me a little bit, that people are just going up there and maybe doing stuff without touching base with us. Sort of like after Riley, when there was an emergency, that storm actually triggered a real emergency declaration from DEP. So people did have some authority to go out there and move stuff with just notice. But I mean, still notice was required. But I mean, like, you can see that Stanton Lane had a minor activities permit. So I mean, the message is out for, you know, certain people know they should call us. And so, and they have, but not everybody's doing it. That's for sure. We can go right into the Christmas tree decoration discussion if you'd like.
Okay. I can kick this one off.
Yep.
So after our last meeting, which had some good discussion around essentially how we agreed that we wanted to prevent prohibited decorations that are harmful to the environment in the area. So we knew we wanted that, but we also thought it might be good to provide an outlet for people who did enjoy decorating those trees and seeing that when they were enjoying our conservation lands. Frank and I were chatting one day and thought to reach out to Samantha Woods at North South River Watershed, just to see if they might be interested in helping out with this, and they were excited about it. So what we have right now is North South River Watershed Association is proposing to do a tree decorating event on December 18th. And they'll be using, they will bring all the materials, and they'll, you know, all stuff that I feel like we can trust them that they will be, you know, obviously choosing the right materials and tools to have people make their own ornaments to hang on a tree that is already there. So we won't need to be bringing in a tree or providing anything. One point of feedback during some of the emailing on it was the date being later. December 18th is quite late. It is 1 week before Christmas. And people have already actually started decorating Driftway Park. So that is a concern. However, North South River Watershed was unable to move the date up from their side. They did propose, you know, when they are doing the event, part of the event will be taking down any other ornaments that have been put up, which I think is great. So that kind of takes another thing off of our to-do list. From our side, I feel like what we would be great to get an agreement on would be, one, let's have North South River Watershed kind of take this event on December 18th and run with it. And then two, just our communication, if we can get something going. I don't know who we need to talk to put something on the town Facebook or the town email or whatever, but just some sort of notification that this is our plan, and there will be an event on the 18th from the North-South River watershed. And also we need a sign on site, maybe two. There's an unauthorized sign up right now, which it's nice that people care, but if we don't want people hanging ornaments, we also don't want them hanging their own signs, unfortunately. So Amy's gonna take care of that tomorrow.
What's the sign that's up there now, Jen?
It's like, please don't put man-made decorations up here, something like that.
Huh.
Yeah, it's like, stop. Go no further.
Where is that located? Right at the entrance to the park, or?
Yeah,
Right on the
it's like-
gate, yeah.
yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Which, you know, honestly, I wouldn't have thought to put a sign up there. So I would have put it where they were normally decorating, but that's a great, you know, reminder on a place to put a sign. So
Okay.
that's it.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Jen, are they going to provide the tree, or do we have to go get it?
They're going to use a tree on site.
Oh, they're not gonna put one in the middle?
Nope.
Okay.
It was something that I noted as just being like it's a little bit easier to be like, this is the tree we're decorating. But I think it's, you know, everybody here has a lot of things on their to-do list, and I'm thrilled that Samantha is so willing to take a lot of this on, and we get a lot of complaints about it. So happy to see how year one goes.
Yeah, and then maybe next year I'll buy one and we'll plant it in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Jen, as
Yeah,
part
that's
of the
exciting.
Jen, as part of the deal, did they also put an end date for it? I hate to sound like a Grinch, but are they going to come and take it down after the first of the year?
The birds are going to eat it.
I can't remember what's in the email, but I'm sure that is something that we can work out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
So-
cranberries and popcorn, Richard.
Well,
Yummy.
in that case, it probably won't be an issue.
No.
Great.
Richard, do you have any other questions?
No, it's a great idea.
Okay.
And I think this is a good measuring stick for future.
Yeah. Andy?
No, I think it's great, and I appreciate that the North and South River watershed will take it on. It's great.
It is awesome. Brendan?
I think
Brendan's
it's
bumming.
fantastic.
Brendan's bumming that we're not going up to get his tree up.
I know. Bruce.
I had to deal with my tree on my own. It has been dealt with.
Okay. Well, thanks. I think that's a great, well, so far it seems like we've got a good solution there. That's awesome. So do we want to take a formal vote to do this? We have a good consensus. I'm good with where we are, but I'm happy to.
I think you're good too.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't think you need a vote.
All right.
The only open items on it, I think, that are a little bit time sensitive would be, how do we get signs up there? I have no idea how that happens.
Do you think we could you kind of put together a rough idea of what you want for a sign, and maybe we could toss that one at Ernie?
Sure.
Just whatever you think it should say. And maybe we got to get a couple other things from Ernie, so maybe we have that. We could just throw it to him and see if he might help us out with that.
Okay.
Well,
What
maybe
about-
in the meantime, like while the Ernie thing is coming through, like Jen and I can just get some laminated and I can go out there and maybe
Yeah.
just, post, please,
Right.
something nicely, please pause on decorating.
Should somebody call Marina and have Ruth do a little thing that there will be a tree decorating? Holiday tree, not Christmas, holiday. That's the only thing I heard from the town was that they want to call it a holiday tree. to
Okay.
be politically correct. I know it drives me cuckoo, but
Um,
I think it is definitely going to be a thing, though, that the event date is a little,
yeah, well, next year, let's try it this year. Next year, we'll get a tree out there in the middle of the grounds, which would be lovely. Let it grow to the sky, and we'll have it earlier, you know, like the weekend after Thanksgiving or something,
Yeah.
when everybody's, the
right.
festivities have begun. So it's out there longer. And then if the birds eat everything, you can go put some more stuff out there.
So from what I'm reading on this, it looks like North and South River are gonna really want to run with this. I just wonder if let them do the publicity for it, Penny. You know, if we
Well,
start
that's
adding,
fine, but I do think it needs to go in the paper that this is going to happen. And please do not decorate the trees on the trail.
okay, well, maybe we could do a
We've given you an
coordinated.
option, people.
Jen, if you don't mind, maybe you could ask Samantha if they do something like that, and if they're also willing to put on it that we don't want, you know, any
Yeah.
decorations on any of the others, especially anything that's non-organic or whatever.
Yep.
That, to your
Well,
earlier
we-
point, Jen, that if they can put it like on the Facebook pages in town as an
Yeah.
organizational post, that could solve some of our problem too.
Yes.
Scituate Monthly or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks, Jim. Signing of, oh yeah, we just gotta get signatures, right, Jim? I'm gonna sign mine tonight.
I'll be over there tomorrow.
Okay.
In the morning, in the morning.
So we also got a request from a Boy Scout for an Eagle project. And he'd like to have some sort of exercise equipment. I think I sent it out to everybody.
You did.
And I'm not quite sure what to think of this. So I'd really appreciate everybody's input on that. Maybe I'll just start with Richard.
I think I did write some response to you, Frank, but
Yeah.
I think it was a great idea. My only concern is one I hate to even mention, but you know, people go and they use it and somebody gets hurt and then you've got perhaps an insurance issue. And that's the only reservation I would even have. And I didn't know exactly the best place. And I'd be open to other people suggesting that. I think it's a wonderful idea, but I am concerned, you know, about liability.
I still haven't figured out what you do on it.
Frank,
Okay, well, since Doug's not here, Penny, you're next.
okay, they did this in the beginning at Ellis Estate. And things got broken and this and that, and it kind of became just a mess. I don't know what this particular exercise thing is you're talking about, but they had different stations at Ellis. And it ended up, the stuff was just thrown on the ground. Kids went in and broke it, or people broke it. You know, the different stations. So I don't know if we want to get into that again. That's the only problem, is the vandalism that we had at Alice years ago when we did it there.
Okay.
That's my only comment.
All right. Jen?
Richard, you were not alone. That was, I believe, the first thing I said when I heard the story.
I love
But I think it's a great idea. I think there's probably only one place in town that would feel perhaps appropriate for that, is Driftway Park. But it is a little different. So I think it's an interesting idea.
I have an opinion.
What's your
Well,
opinion?
you're not next, but sure.
Well, I just kind of feel like maybe want to have like, picture figured out before we start approving little like things like this.
Say that
On the
again.
list of consideration, like you still are trying to get your grand vision for this park established via the specialized Driftway Park Committee that we have. And so maybe this is part of it, but like, I don't think we should just like cherry pick like little items like this. Maybe we need to like.
Yeah.
She makes a good point.
You know what I'm
So,
saying?
so I put out, I met with the scouts a couple of times, encouraged them to come up with some projects. We have our projects like the boardwalks and signs and things like that. And this was a request that came back from a scout, and their projects are time sensitive to their age. And so most of them have to do it on a fairly urgent basis. They get to this point and they've got maybe several months to get these projects. Once they have to get it approved by their boards or whatever, and then get their materials and stuff like that. So I hear what you're saying. We're still actually trying to figure out what we could do with the driftway, but if we thought that, and this to me looks like it's 5 posts in the ground, if it had to be shifted or something, it wouldn't be that difficult to do. I think from a liability standpoint, maybe we want to talk to town administrator or something, but we got playgrounds and everything else that have far more
Yeah, that's true.
busy things than this. So, well, those are my 2 thoughts, but I want to, Andy, you've been looking at the park quite a bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like the project. My first thought was, I was sort of curious why they came to us. Like, it seemed like something maybe more appropriate for like a school field or somewhere like that. Maybe it's just because they know you and they like to work with you. But that was my one thought. Like, is it most appropriate for a trail, or better off sort of in one of the fields at the schools or something like that? But no strong feelings on it.
Okay. Brendan?
Yeah, I just have, the whole liability thing, but as you said, I'm sure there's an answer for that, but, and then maintenance on, does this just think, how long is it gonna last? Who's gonna take care of it? That's all.
Okay. Well, I think some of these things have a longevity anyways. Even the boardwalks we're building, sooner or later will need to be upgraded or repaired, and someone could slide off the side of them. I guess if we could come to a spot, even if it's not forever. His request was, I think he wanted to put it at the top of the hill. I'm not quite sure that's where we want to put it, but there's already, there's the picnic table area and stuff. I'm thinking that there could be a spot somewhere in that area where this could go. And I guess we could ask either town administrator or whatever, just for the okay. But I mean, our pier that's out there is more lethal than this thing. So and if anybody doesn't have a strong feeling about it, and we can come up with a location that could work, I'm not opposed to having them do it. It is a little different. Just I guess if we think people will find it helpful or beneficial.
If you put it in an open area, then we won't have the problem that we had at Ellis, because that was in on the trails.
Right.
Okay, it had different stations, so that's, almost asked for somebody to vandalize it. But if this is in an open area up by the picnic tables, or even at the edge of at the big field, that's different. Then you're less apt to have the problem we had at Ellis. So I'm all for it if that's what we're doing. Get it in the open.
Okay. Well, is anybody
against it.
not for this, I guess, at this point, if we can work out something? Okay,
Okay,
I'm thinking that silence is good.
Yeah.
What else?
I think,
Continuance policy?
oh, yeah, 33 Oceanside, continuing and continuing
Yeah,
and continuing. When do we stop it?
well, so how do you separate? You know, we
Hingham has
have,
a policy that I think Jen might have out there as a tentative possible one that we could consider. And while I don't have it right in front of me, it was like, after so many continuances, there's an option of discussion. So, and then it's like, you might have to re-advertise, that type of thing.
Yes,
I think is that you starting the public interest, you know, which I'm afraid on some of the ones that we continued tonight, it's the same thing. You know, they haven't been continued since, well, this one was since August, and then we continued it all the way out. But I mean, we haven't talked about 33 Oceanside really since the spring, right? I mean, so it's like you have to like totally it's same thing with Newell Street. You have to totally jump into it again.
exactly. And well, Newell Street took over a year and it may or may not be concluded now. Oceanside's been going on since spring, and it's also detrimental to all the other issues that we have to take up because it pushes other things back when we keep at it, or, you know, continuing, it follows up the schedule further down the road. I think we need to put the burden back on the people that are asking for the continuance and say, hey, you know what? Get your work done, and so that we can make a decision. And otherwise, and isn't Oceanside, is that even, is that an enforcement order?
No.
Or should it be an enforcement order under this situation? I mean, we got to draw, I think we have to draw a line. And yes, I remember
No,
that.
this is the project that has superseding orders.
Even worse.
Yeah, this is the
And he
one.
wants
that-
to do something different, Richard. He wants to go out in the street and stop the water. Oh, instead of putting the plantings in that the state told him to do.
so Amy, when we have these projects and the people ask for continuance and the commission decides, you know what, we've seen enough of this. Are we allowed to just vote the project? In other words, if we've been looking at this thing for 6 months, at that point, can we just vote to either approve or deny the project and close it down?
Yeah,
Or do we-
so you could deny it for insufficient information. Like that's one of the given reasons, you know? And so
Mhm.
giving you the information that you need to make a decision, then that would be a reason why you could deny it. But it's not usually handled that way.
Is there some way, can it be cited that, you know, I guess the thought is for some of these, it's like for someone that's got a bunch of time on their hands, they want to file something and then would just keep continuing it till everybody loses interest or people don't show up for the hearing or whatever. Can we, when we determine that in some fashion, can then we just say, you know what, you have to re-advertise or?
Well, so under the, Jen actually was just able to print this. So no project may be continued more than 3 times without the submittal of updated project information for review. New information must be submitted to the commission at least 1 week before the next hearing. Yeah, and if it's needs to go to peer review, it must be 2 weeks, but that's not it. So it's, yeah, no more than 3 times without the submittal of updated information. And if you go after that, they should include a reason for the request, the date of the continuance. And then if you guys can decide whether or not to grant it.
Okay.
And if it's on an agenda, it says request for continuances that are submitted after the agenda is posted at the town hall, which is what happened in all of these cases, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
It says if it's after the agenda is posted at the town hall and on the website, should be made in writing before review. The commission will decide at the scheduled meeting whether to grant the continuance. And then it says you can take public comment even if the applicant's not present. So basically it's at their own risk. You know, if they do it after the agenda is posted, you risk that you guys might talk about it and have a butters get on and, you know, talk about it and
close it.
You could close it. Yeah. And then you could
Like that.
close for not enough information, or you could close, I mean, you could, you know, or deny it depending on the project.
I just don't understand why you put an NOI into the office if you're not ready to go. I don't understand it. They
Well,
should be ready to go. You put it in, you're on the agenda.
I think sometimes people put together their project, they submit it, and then they'd like to get some input or review, or, you know, don't forget, in some of these projects are submitted, and then we're getting a peer review person or something else happens. So sometimes the continuances have something to do with our office as well. Depends on what's going on, or as you say, if there's information or whatever that needs to be pulled together, it can take a little while. Obviously, most folks are anxious to get their project moving forward.
It's those projects, I think, that are the most frustrating because, I mean, at least a couple of these, you know, like for instance, 9 Pondview, the guy that came on, he was like, oh, he was mad because they weren't going forward with us, but yet he hasn't even been to ZBA. I mean, we're supposed to be the last permitting authority that you go see. So you should have all your other boxes checked, and that I can see a couple of these other projects, it's the same holdup. And actually Oceanside, that's the same holdup as he's giving us. He's can't get an answer out of whether DPW would let him do that because he's proposing to encroach on town property, you know, work in the easement or the right of way. But
Well,
I think
So let's take that one as an example, or First
That's
Parish
not true.
Road. Or First Parish Road, you know, we conditioned the project, it's a little bit different. But then there was a question whether DEP would allow them to access it where they want. So sometimes people have felt like they're in a little bit of a pickle. You know, they're going before more than one board. You don't want to start all over again. If you're supposed to go to the ZBA, but you want some comment or review from, say, conservation, so that you don't go through the whole process of getting approval from planning or ZBA, only to find out that the Conservation Commission is not going to allow that in the fashion that you'd like to do it. So people they feel a little frustrated without being able to get input from the commission, whether it's from the commission as a whole, like an informal request, or they just file, you know, and see where the commission's going with that, so then they know if they have to revamp their plan. It's a little more complicated, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
But we
Well, on
have
the bigger
some habitual ones that just keep pushing out. Probably 4 that I'm looking at, 5 of them, 4 are legitimate continuances. Okay? 1 is not a legitimate continuance. That's the one that we want to stop, those. How long do we have to sit on that? The other ones, more than likely, December 6th, they're going to show up, they're going to present, and we're gonna move on. It's the habitual ones that I know I am frustrated with, and they might not know the answer. Well, if I could get an answer, I don't know why they couldn't get an answer.
Well,
From
some people are
another
more
town.
persistent than others, Penny.
Huh?
Some people are more persistent than others.
Well, that could be, but this is ridiculous. We're going on a year here. We're getting close with one of these. And it's the same thing over and over. Oh, I can't get an answer from so-and-so. Baloney, I got an answer. I don't know why he can't. Just go in and ask. He'll give you the answer.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like since we're virtual still, it's, you know, you have more control than, you know, with your agendas. You know what I mean? Like, it's, there's only so much you can do in this fashion a night. And you're right. And I think when things get continued, it just passes it down the road and it screws everybody else up because now you've got to fit them in at some point.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
but
this was a
why
hefty agenda, if this had all come
continuing?
through.
Let's
That's
go to, you continue 3 times and then you better have a good reason or we're gonna close you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, simple.
and make them re-advertise.
Yeah, and pay
And I think that
money.
would cut down the frivolous ones.
Right.
You're right, Penny. Most of these are very legitimate. It's
Oh,
the,
yeah, and they'll be ready next time.
and I would think that something like Jen's proposal could be very effective, and we could perhaps put it in effective the first of the year and
Yeah.
give people notice that that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah,
Good idea, Rich. I like the getting a date out there. We'll have an effective
Yeah.
January 1. This is our, the way we're gonna roll. Because we can't control, it's like, I don't know, so much is out of our control. Like, because most of these all developed today in the last half hour. I got continuances on like 4 of them. It was crazy.
I do think most are legitimate, but we've got
Where I
some
know, like,
that just aren't.
Salt Meadow, I knew I had a problem with no plan on that one like a week ago, you know what I mean? But it's, I don't
well,
know.
we know that's a problem.
Yeah, that one.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
I did like Jen's plan.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't get a new date till they submit new information, then re-advertise.
So, but Amy, just going back to a couple of these real quick, like Pond View.
Yeah,
Sometimes we've held the hearing
yeah.
and subject to getting the number. So I'm curious
Right, on
why.
that one, it was engineer's request, and I think because he had everything else canceled, maybe he was, just decided it wasn't gonna close. We usually do close pending issuance of, and that one actually on Friday, I had written to Greg and to try to get a number out of him, but he said the check hadn't cleared. And then I spoke to Tia and she's like, well, the check's cleared through my end. So I mean, I don't know, I don't know.
Okay.
208 Chief Justice's peer review. 0 Ridge Hill, stuff that you at last meeting you asked for, it's not all in. Like one of them is you don't have access on a private way. And I said, and by the way, I'm not even sure you're going to get that one in at all because it's a G lot. But so he continued all of those, but
Okay. All right.
yeah. So
Well, we're getting into December before we know it. So the first of the year will be here. And I think that's the route we should go.
well, re-advertising is
Right.
not insignificant because in this
No, it
town,
isn't.
I mean, it's like a few $100s to advertise. So
Yeah.
more than
Well, and the thing is, we have 5 tonight that didn't show, right? Well,
Yeah.
I've got more than 5 downstairs that could have been put in there and probably
Right.
heard, and be done
No,
with.
I know. So
That's
that's what
exactly
Jen and I
right.
are already, we're doing the
Yeah.
judging for what December's gonna look like. That's why they didn't all go to the first meeting because we've got
Right.
things we gotta get on, So,
Hmm.
and I've got some new ones that are big, new ones that I've been sitting on because of like back taxes and other complications with the planning board. So I mean, there's some like this is, some of these are, easy, small residential stuff, but there's some tough ones coming your way.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the airline's double book. Why don't we just do that?
Oh, yeah.
That's the night
Right.
they'll all show up, Frank. If we-
Well,
Yeah.
then they don't all get a seat. Somebody's gonna,
Yeah.
Right, because I don't think we want to be here past 11. I know I don't want to be.
I think
No, you can't think. You can't think. I know.
9 o'clock is too late for me, so.
Well, we
All right.
did that a few times
All
years
right,
ago.
we have a chance of being gone here by 7:30.
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn then. Oh, everyone.
Anybody else? Does anybody else want to say something other than Penny?
No, see? Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Same to you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Somebody second the adjournment, please.
Second.
Thank you,
Hey,
Jen.
Jen.
Thank you.
Have a
Jen.
nice night.
You too, everybody.
Take
Yep.
care.
All right,
Bye-bye. Have
bye.
a good Thanksgiving.
Bye.
Eat lots.
Thank you, everybody.
Yum, yum.
Uh,